This week in nerdy news, this is LTNN. Game Pass is an amazing service, offering a ton of games across console and PC for a low price. But Xbox's Aaron Greenberg is begging you not to name your baby Game Pass. During Gamescom 2021 last week, Bethesda's Pete Hines was chatting with Greenberg about past stories and brought up how someone had named their newborn after the main character from Skyrim, and Bethesda gave the family free Bethesda games for life. Greenberg responded with a plea to everyone watching. I also ask that no one name their baby Game Pass, implying that no such prize will be coming for parents who do. Amica Games, developer of the Steam title Summer of 58, has announced that they are leaving game development for an indefinite time. Why? Because everyone has been returning their game. Steam has a policy in place that if you have played a game for less than 2 hours, you can return the game for a full refund, which is a great option for when you buy a game and realize pretty quickly that it isn't for you. However, that isn't the case here, as Summer of 58 has an overall very positive rating and tons of nice comments. The problem is, the game is short. It only takes the average player 90 minutes to complete it in full, meaning that someone can buy the game, beat it in full, and return it for a full refund. This has left Amica Games without enough funding to continue working on their next game from day to day, and it's causing them to reevaluate their business altogether. Steam is yet to comment on amending the return policy for shorter games. And finally, Netflix has found a super lead for the upcoming animated Magic the Gathering series. Gideon Jura will be voiced by none other than the Atom and failed Superman himself, Brandon Routh. Magic the Gathering is set to premiere on Netflix in 2022. That was This Week in Nerdy News. I'm Radio Matt, and this is LTNN.
Hey everyone, I'm Kipp Wilkinson, and this is Reviews of the Nerds. Today I'm reviewing The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. The Eye of the World is the first book in the critically acclaimed Wheel of Time series, a high fantasy book series that breaks away from the traditional Tolkien-esque world of elves and halflings. Life in the village of Inmansfield is uneventful until a strange woman arrives and pulls Rand al'Thor and his friends into a grand adventure. Miray is an Aes Sedai, a powerful magic user with the ability to wield the One Power. She carries with her a warning that a terrible evil has begun to awaken in the world. Suddenly, in the dead of night, Inmansfield is attacked by a band of Trollocs, bloodthirsty creatures who are half man and half animal that before now were believed to be a legend. As the village burns, Miray and her guardian, along with Rand and his friends, flee from the danger. Miray believes that Rand is the Dragon Reborn, the one person who can unite the world to fight back against the rising darkness and defeat the Dark One. The Eye of the World is the beginning of Jordan's 12-part series, The Wheel of Time. Jordan has crafted a unique world entirely his own, with an intricate magic system, strange and fantastic creatures, and a rich cast of characters. I recently finished reading this book with the news that Amazon would soon be releasing a TV show adapted from the series. However, my intrigue with this series began with my love for Brandon Sanderson, another fantasy author, who took up his pen and finished writing the last books in the Wheel of Time series after the original author passed away. I will say, this first story was a little slow at the beginning, but it quickly gained speed. The characters are so deeply developed and each struggle with their own internal darkness and light throughout the book. As Jordan chronicles the internal struggles of these characters, I was reminded of the struggle inside of each of us to choose the light over the dark. I give this book a solid 7 out of 10. I'm Kipp Wilkinson, and remember, you should never use an old sock as a bookmark.
Have you ever been around another person who used a word or phrase that you were absolutely certain that you should know, but you didn't? Well, of course you have. Hey, don't worry, nerd, because we've got some great news for you. You're about to learn something brand new, and this will be useful. Not like that throwaway knowledge like math or science. This is the real world, bub, and you need to be able to hold your own in a nerdy conversation. So pull up a chair and pay attention, because LTN's got another nerdy definition for you. This week's definition is Eurogame. Now, this is a tabletop term referring to a type of game generally originating outside of the US that incorporates indirect player interaction and abstract components. That definition has drastically changed over the years to include US titles and very intricate pieces in some of the games. These types of games differ from their American counterparts in that they don't necessarily encourage direct conflict, drama, or require a significant amount of luck. I am sure that we're going to go over those kinds of games affectionately named Ameritrash in a future short, so stay put. Games like Settlers of Catan, Carcassonne, Five Tribes, Puerto Rico, and Brass are just a few of the games that fit into this category. And Euro games also tend to be fairly lengthy plays due to the amount of strategy necessary to accomplish your given goal. So, the next time some overenthusiastic alpha nerd starts to talk about how much better Euro games are than any other kind of game, you can lean in and enjoy the show because, well, you understand that reference.
Hey everyone, I'm Hector Miray, and this is Faith and Fandom 180 on LTN Radio. So I had a pretty scary experience this week. It was about bedtime. I had sent my daughters to bed, and I was going to check on them to make sure everybody was good before it was lights out. And I rounded the corner out of my kitchen down to the hallway where my daughter's bedrooms are, and I heard a man's voice. A deep, burly man's voice. And if you're not familiar, I'm the only dude in my household. And I freaked out. I took off running down the hallway, ready to destroy or assault any would-be intruder or anything like that. And I had just flung my daughter's door open. And that's when I realized she was sitting on her bed with her school laptop, listening to my podcasts. I'm like, thanks for the heart attack. Why are you listening to my podcast right now? She's like, oh, I like learning from you. And, you know, my kids spent 6 weeks of the summer on the road with me speaking at Bible camps and stuff. So I was pretty surprised and grateful that she would still want to hear from me. But she's like, I like learning from you. You talk about the things that I enjoy, stuff like that. So she wanted to go back and listen to some of the audio chapters and stuff off my podcast, and I was grateful that she was doing that. But then the thought hit me, I was like, man, she really shouldn't have to go to a podcast to learn from me. Am I taking the time to intentionally pour into my daughter? Yes, I'm not going to have a sermon on Uncle Iroh or, you know, Captain America every Sunday at church, but I should really take the time to intentionally pour into my daughter that way. In Isaiah 6, there's these verses 6 through 9 where it says, these commands that I give to you are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road. And when you lie down and when you get up, tie them up as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the doorframes of your houses and on your gates. And we see these instructions from Moses that basically tell us, make sure that we are intentionally putting the things of God out in front of our families and sharing them with them as much as we can, because it's important. Don't wait for the podcast. Remember to catch Faith and Fandom 180 every Wednesday morning on the Back Row Morning Show, only on LTN Radio. And if you'd like to learn more about Faith and Fandom, head over to faithandfandom.org, where you can learn about our Comic-Con ministry, podcast, memes, apparel, and book series. You can even read new chapters before they make it to the next book. I'm Hector Miray, and thank you for spending the last 180 seconds with me.
This week in Nerd History, you're getting old, Harry. In just a couple months, the movie version of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone will turn 20 years old. Sorry, you had to hear that. But of course, the book is even older. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, as it was originally titled for release in the UK, was Jo Rowling's debut novel, and one she worked on for over 6 years. Several publishers passed on the book because it was too long for their liking, coming in at about 90,000 words before edits. Young adult novels rarely went above 80,000, and many were half that. And even though the final draft of the book came in at just under 77,000 words, every book after broke the 80,000 word barrier, with Order of the Phoenix topping the series with 257,000 words between its covers. While Philosopher's Stone released in the UK in June of 1997, the US rights were purchased by Scholastic the April before for $105,000, which was significantly higher than average. The book was then released in the US on September 1st, 1998, under the name Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, because Scholastic thought the word philosopher would sound too archaic for American readers. Within a year, Sorcerer's Stone topped the New York Times list of best-selling fiction and stayed at or near the top for much of 99 and 2000, until the New York Times was pressured into separating the list into two separate lists, an adult fiction and a children's fiction list, because publishers wanted to give their books a fighting chance. Currently, the book has been translated into 80 languages, including Latin and even ancient Greek. Safe to say, it's cast quite a spell on all of us. I'm Radio Matt. See you next time for more Nerd History.